Hi, my name is Janelle, and I am so glad that you've joined me in this conversation. We are going to take a look at together, what is the cost of not knowing? I want to explore that with you and take a look at different people's lives and their stories and what has been their ahas. What's the cost of not knowing? So on a piece of paper, to start this off, I would like you to write down 2 things that are your biggest expense. Expense number 1 and expense number 2. As you do that, I always want to welcome you to this conversation, welcome you to this class, and introduce myself. Hi, I'm Janelle, and I am an intuitive. I work with individuals who are seeking to expand their intuitive gifts, understand and connect to that whisper of the soul. What are your gifts? How do they talk to you? And they're ever expanding. As the earth shifts, we just have these rings of energy coming down to us. And as the earth shifts, so do our gifts. And sometimes that can create some confusion. So that's a total rabbit trail. And I love that topic. So I almost went down it. And we can someday, but we're not today because that's not exactly what we're looking at. But I just really enjoy connecting people to that whisper of the soul, that very inner piece of who they are. So you've got your 2 topics, 2 things that are your biggest expense right now. And if you would share with those, share one of those, either one of them, in the chat. Let's take a look at what your biggest expenses are. Okay, homes, absolutely. Mortgages, debt. Yeah, debt, mortgage, office space. Okay. I want to bring something to you that's actually even bigger than any of those that you just listed, and that's taxes. You're like, what? I'm only in the 28% bracket. That's what the government wants you to believe or understand. But let's look at that together. So you get your income and it's taxed. There's one tax. Then you take that income and you buy property. You buy your home. Yeah, you pay now property tax. You go and you purchase a new vehicle. And in a lot of states, you are paying a purchase the vehicle tax and a sales tax. There you go again. Then you fill up that car with fuel and you're getting a sales tax or a fuel tax on that. So it is up to 51% that we are getting taxed. And this is our number 2 biggest expense. Yeah, it's not even our number 1. It's our number 2, 51%. So if you are making $100, you're paying $51 in taxes. If you're making $1,000, you're paying $510 in taxes. If you're making $100,000, you're paying $5,100 in tax. If you're making $1 million, you are paying $551,000 in tax. And so I did my 100,000 wrong. You're paying 51,000 in tax. So it's a huge piece of our income. And like I said, that's not even our number 1 expense. Wow. I want to go into, and I'll break that down here in a minute. But before we do, I want you to think about a chocolate cake and Death by Chocolate is my favorite cake recipe that you were just like, it is to die for. Do any of you have a recipe that's just that good? Oh, good. I always hope there's somebody, because number 1, I love Death by Chocolate cake. For real. Okay, so thank you. And could you teach me how to make that cake? I believe you can too. So you are an intelligent person. You're a smart person. Correct? And I'm a smart person. One smart person can teach another smart person something new. Do you agree? So I really would like that Death by Chocolate recipe. Send it to Janelle at janellrae.com. I would love to have it. Thank you in advance for that. So we're in agreement. One smart person can teach another smart person something. We're going to take a look at that which we don't know is costing us something. And What is your purpose in life? And not knowing and being in line with that, what is that costing you? So what is your promised land? What is your dream? What is the thing that you want to see? Some of us have, well, I'm just going to start with a story. How about that? I have a very interesting story that is real. My great-grandfather, he was part of the homesteading movement in Idaho. And he had a dream, him and his family had the dream, the vision of them becoming farmers, landowners, farming, and living that lifestyle. And they took part in the land settling movement in southern Idaho and got a plot of land. He moved his family down to that area of Idaho, and it was literally, they invested their entire livelihood in this move. So uprooted their family, moving away from family to settle in Idaho. They bought what they needed, the seed, the equipment, settled this land, cleared this land, prepared the soil, and then planted it. So by the sweat of their brow and the commitment and the vision to see their future of being farmers, seeing it to fruition. So they put in the sweat equity, planted the seed, and then waited for the rains. The rains came, and they waited for the seed to grow, waited for that little green hue that you get after you've planted a field. And that green hue was like, yes, there it is. There's nothing more exciting than that green hue across the brown soil. And it didn't show. And it didn't show. Matter of fact, it just didn't show. He's like, oh my gosh. So regrouped, worked it up again, planted the seed, the rains came, and they waited for the green hue. And they've got everything on the line. I mean, their entire livelihood is on the line. They came in with full commitment, both in action and financially, to being farmers, and nothing grew. Their hearts sank into just a despair. What are they going to do? It made no sense to stay because nothing was going to grow. So they figured their best bet was sell the ground and move on. So they did. They sold the ground and moved on. And the man that bought the property's last name is Simplot. Simplot, if you know anything about Simplot Industries now, they are one of the wealthiest on the West Coast. So if you Google it, so if Google's real, if the information there is trustworthy, they're saying their annual revenue is around $7 billion a year. That's when you're like, what happened? So Mr. Simplot bought my great-grandpa's ground, and he got curious, why is nothing growing? And as they did some tests on the soil, they realized it was pure natural fertilizer. And they probably bagged that stuff up. And that was one of the richest natural fertilizer plots. So my great-grandpa was sitting on a gold mine, that which his promised land was under his feet. But his vision was narrow. He was a farmer. And no guilt, no shame. But the piece I'm wanting to bring in here is that what we don't know, what is it costing us? What my great-grandfather didn't know, what did it cost him? Literally, potentially, billions. And how different would his life and my life be? Right? All right. So not to rabbit hole down that trail, but what is the richness? What we don't know, what is it costing you? Potentially here, billions. When I was younger, I had, like we're talking, 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, I would have the gift of being raised super rural. And it was about connecting for me, it was such a natural, beautiful place for me to grow up because I am highly empathic and animals are very empathic as well. And so I had horses and dogs and cats and bunny rabbits. And then there's the wildlife. We had deer and elk and moose and bobcat and cougar and bear. I mean, that was naturally around us all the time. And these connections I had just came so natural, like a conversation today with a good friend. My interaction and intuitive gifts with these animals was an easy space. So fast forward into school, and that connection, that animal connection, and being able to read and navigate empathically. Now I'm sitting in a classroom of kids, and they're all around me, and I could feel everything. And I didn't understand what I felt. Like in the animal world, it made sense. Animals are very straightforward. There's no deceptive energy. It's just straightforward conversation, so to speak. And here I am in a classroom of kiddos, and the kiddos have all the energy of their families, and I am overwhelmed. And my gifts and senses do not make sense in this space. So on top of this, to just really put icing on the cake here, I'm also dyslexic and an auditory processing disorder, which I did not figure out until I was well into my 20s. Nobody was understanding what I was going through. I didn't understand what I was going through. So here I am in this energy soup, and then the words that are coming at me are making no sense. You're reading, we're working with that basic alphabet, right? It was total scramble. The sounds I was hearing, total scramble. And now I am in this massive spiral of confusion. So the input through the gifts and this dyslexia, nothing made sense. So I'm dealing and navigating with this for 3 years. And I get into 3rd grade, and I'm really trying to pass the spelling test. And I am crying out to Creator Energy, I know you can heal me because I'm obviously broke. And I bring this piece up specifically because for me and many of the individuals that I work with, we had a pivot point where a place where we just said, okay, a breaking point. I have got to do something different. So at this point in my life, I shut down so many of the intuitive gifts I had because through the lens of a child, without even a lot of logic around it, because I didn't realize I was gifted. I figured everybody did what I did. You just don't know what you don't know. And I shut those gifts down to save myself, to fit in, to be acceptable. So I'm building a sequence of beliefs at this time that I didn't know I was doing, but I did through the lens of my child self to save myself. So I built personas. This is what's acceptable in society. This is what makes what people are looking for. I became a people pleaser at that moment. I was not before that. I became a people pleaser. I built personas so that you cannot reject me because this is who I am. This fake persona is who I am. You'll accept that. And whatever this is that's making this working with letters and sounds so hard, I'm shutting that down. So much of who I am authentically was put in a box and in a closet. That door was locked and I walked away until I started training horses professionally. I did it twice. I opened my, put out my shingle when I was 17. I got a really early start, whole other story about my passion for horses, and training. And then when I was 26 or 27, I put out my shingle again because I sold my horses, traveled the world, came back, and here I built an indoor arena, and I'm taking in horses. And these horses that I were attracting were outlaw horses. Now, there's a time in our life where we get times that we get opportunities to reconnect to who we are and understand who we are. And this was one of those times. I've had several before, but here's the one that was so clear. It was at the right time, and I was ready to hear and learn about who I was again. So I've got these horses coming to me. They're labeled outlaws. That means they've been to several other trainers, and or the trainer, their person decided to train them. And there was just something about this horse and a lot of really dangerous behaviors, bucking, kicking, running away, biting, behaviors were present. So a combination of something like this. So these horses would come into my arena and I would free move them, no human interaction. I'd just kind of peek through the crack in the wall, a crack in the gate, and I would observe them. And I saw that biomechanically these animals were not working properly. Like there would be a bob in the head, or the leg would drop too soon, or the back wasn't lifting as it should, and some different signs. And I got curious, why are you biomechanically so off? And I networked with 3 incredible gals. One is a vet that studied and brought into her practice Chinese medicine and acupuncture. A gal that did equine chiropractics. She was just brilliant. And then another gal that did body work, which now we would call energy work on horses. So Reiki style and some cool modalities that she had. And I would bring these horses, permission of the owners, into these gals' space, and they would do what they did. I would take the horses home and I would do the follow-up work. And in this follow-up work, the miracle happened. That which I had locked away years ago began to open up again. Now understand, I've been successful. I am a successful trainer at this time. I am booked a year in advance. And I've traveled the world. I've experienced some beautiful, nearly 5 years, I traveled the world, lived overseas in different countries. I mean, I've had success. But in the core of me, I knew something was amiss. I am not, I'm not connecting to who I am. And I wouldn't give it those words because I didn't have those words yet, but I knew I was faking it. So there was always a piece of missing self-confidence, stepping out, being bolder, knowing this is where I'm going, was missing in so many pieces and areas. And healthy boundaries, having healthy boundaries was another area of my life where this not being connected to who I really am was paying the price. I struggled with boundaries. So here I am, and I'm doing a follow-up on these horses, and the horses began to activate my gifts. So I started seeing into the body of the horse, and I could see what was stuck. I'm like, whoa, that's what I see. And I could feel, I'd have my hands on them, and I could release that energy, and I could move negative energy or stuck energy and bring in the higher vibration, support, love energy to help heal and raise the vibration of those spaces. And all sorts of cool, amazing healing started to take place. I started seeing into the horse, and I could see meridians. I didn't know what I was seeing. So I'd take it back to the gal team that were working on my horses, and they would explain to me what I was seeing and doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so this is where my understanding began and my studies began. Now, nobody was talking about this really 25 years ago. This is 25 years ago. But because of my team that were in my space right on time, I began to connect and understand what I had shut down so many years ago. So my journey had been and has been walking and studying to explore and know who I am at the deepest, deepest core, and activating that intuitive side of me. Because what we don't know, what is it costing us? What is it costing us? It cost my great-grandpa billions of dollars. It cost me not being aligned with myself. Now I understand and I honor that everything happens to us as it's supposed to, right on time. But when we're connected to our intuitive side and grow in that connection, that's how we navigate. That's our compass. What is being disconnected from our compass costing? It cost me some decisions. I made decisions that were not in line with me. I made a relationship decision, my first marriage. I made the culture, the people groups the social groups that I connected with did not align with me, did not support my authentic self. And in that, I was caged. I was blocked and held down by beliefs that did not align with me. And what did that cost me? Self-confidence. My health suffered. Time of being and in a space that is totally in line with me is my joy. Now I had the horses, which is totally in line with me. So it wasn't totally void, but our lives are fuller than just one area being aligned with us. So this young man that I was working with, a client this year, who had this, he was sharing with me his story. So he's been walking with me for about a year in his healing and gift activation work that he's come to me. It's his intentions that we're working and focusing on. Each group that I work with, each individual, it's super important to just channel what is guidance wanting for them. What's their gifts? How does that gift show up for them? So it's not like a canned process, but really individual. It's so key when we're connecting to authenticity is that I am getting to connect to me as I'm designed to be, and that channeled information that I am needing for this understanding and connection. And so he was sharing with me in part of his story that he, shortly after high school, or after college, and he was hired into a job that was not in line with him. And he took it because it was a compromise for this and that and some other reasons. Took the job, and the supervisor was not in line with him. The coworkers, the atmosphere was not in line with who he truly was. And in a year's time, he gained 50 pounds. He had tremors in his hands that he could not control, and he was passing out. So what does it cost of not knowing? When he was not in line with who he truly was, that's his words, he was compromising, and he had some work to do, some healing work to remove experiences, the energy of different experiences, transition and transmute that energy into love energy, remove blocks, and really start that quest and understanding who he was at his most authentic self and embracing these gifts that he has. He has incredibly cool gifts, by the way. Gifts are just so fun. Because of that disconnect, his internal compass, his boundaries weren't there, and his self-sabotaging behavior choices were leading, not his authentic self. So what did it cost him? It cost him his health. He was hospitalized. It cost him money, and a lot of money. So what we don't know, it costs us a lot. It costs us in our health. It costs us in our joy. It costs us, we have the opportunity to be living in absolute peace and contentment and joy and purposefully. That's how we're designed. We really are. So when we come onto that plot of land, like my great grandpa did, and we have a vision for who we are, what we're going to do, is it so narrow that we're not seeing that the gold is right under our feet. Everything that you are looking for and ready to connect to is right there. But you don't know where to look. My great grandpa did not know, so he just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. So what not knowing cost him was billions of dollars. What it cost him was time, joy, peace, his health, and a lot of money. What did it cost me to not know? It cost me not living in that place of so excited to get up in the morning because these things in my life, my work, my family, my network, my community is in line with me. Those things closest in this circle are in line with who I authentically am, and what I am called to do and serve, because my gifts are here to serve others. They're to bring, my gift is to activate people's gifts, expand and explain and guide people on their different places in their journey. My gifts can see and what's blocking them from connecting to those gifts. And based on how guidance wants that to happen, we can go in and guide the person in removing that. So that's really about learning how I work. When we take, it's a little bit of a venture off over here a little bit, but it's good. We have these different blocks in us so that we can learn how our gifts work. How do you work? Have you ever wondered how you work? And maybe you have a knowing, but is it more than that? Do you have a curiosity that I could be doing more than I'm doing? Okay, people tell me I'm empathic. I've had clients come in. People tell me I'm empathic. Okay, but I don't know what that means. And how does that even really look? And how does that even work in my life right now? Well, I am here on the planet to see that. I can just see it. And based on what guidance wants people to know, I can then bring in the information that gives them and connects the dots so that it's their knowing. I think it's important that people don't just tell you, hey, this is your gift and this is how it works. I think we need to be set up into a circumstance. It needs to be facilitated. This is an area now, what do you feel, see, know, taste, all the different senses? Okay, I translate. So my gift is translating what and how the gifts are showing up, or what guides give you or my clients. They give clients this information, and sometimes I can support in the translation of what. Oh, I saw these colors. Okay, what's that mean? I saw these symbols. What's that mean? I got these feelings in my person, my body. What's that mean? I'm feeling really stinking overwhelmed and my head's gonna blow up. What do I do about it? That's my job, one of my jobs. It also goes into that business and business builders. So your entrepreneur-minded individuals tend to be really intuitive. And right now, specifically, our planet is connecting to that higher knowledge, that higher wisdom like never before. It's just so super cool. So many of us, you included, are being called to connect to that so that you can be downloading in the way that you download information to be doing. What do you do? What do you do? Are you a teacher? Are you a parent? Are you an architect? Are you inventing new and cool things to make to improve our environment? I mean, what are you doing right now? What are you called to do? This energy, this greater wisdom is wanting to reach out to you and download so that you're doing what you came to this planet to do. It's not an accident you're here at this time. So knowing how to connect to that and how it shows up for you is key. And that is a huge part of why I'm here, is to be that guiding piece. Your gifts are here to guide you into that purpose work, to expand, to download what we're needing right now on this planet. That is why your gifts are here. You're here, some of you are here to be healers. So how does that look for you? It's going to be different between all of us, but how does yours look? And what are the different gifts? So am I a channeler? Am I a hands-on healer? Can I heal virtually or distance healing? Can I do that? Well, sure you can. So how does it look for you? So what we don't know is often the pieces that are trying to get our attention, and what's that costing us. These gifts and tools are here to expand us. So that's where our joy, happiness, contentment, that's where we know. It's like my self-confidence knows it's costing us our confidence often, because if I'm not really connected to who I am, I at some level know that. So am I going to boldly step out if I'm not in who I am? Yeah, maybe. And am I bold? Not as bold as I would be if I'm connected to who I am. And that internal compass, how do I know what aligns with me? How do I make decisions that aren't self-sabotaging? It's by knowing and aligning yourself with who you are authentically, and then healing all the pieces that are there that are keeping you from there. And how do you know that? So there's lots of ways of knowing how to remove blocks, how to find them. And it can be pretty individual, but totally doable. In this, it starts with your intention. It starts with your intention. So coming down to, is it your time to connect? I have connected with your authentic self, and I have connected hundreds of people with who they are authentically. And using and walking with animals. Because if you've got animals in your life, your animals want to support you. You are a team. Horses are huge in wanting to support and help heal people. I bring people in with the horses all the time because I saw what they did to me, and it's a space that is really close to my heart. Horses are just magical, and their gifts, this intuitive space is natural for them. You and I are learning about it. This is their world. So when we set the intention to sit with them, they activate, heal in just mind-blowing ways. So the cost of not knowing who you are, what is it costing you? Is it costing you your peace? Is it costing you your confidence? Is it costing you your health? Is it costing you your purpose, feeling that joy? Is it costing you money? Being who you are at your most authentic self is what pulls us away from the crowd. People say, you look at the sea of be an advertiser, be a podcaster. Maybe you are a healer and you're trying to be seen on the social media platform. And you're like, how do I stand out? You stand out from the crowd by just being a second sooner. If you are a business person and you're like needing to, you're promoting a business, you have a product, maybe you're a personal coach, how do you stand out from the crowd? How do you just get 1 second, millisecond ahead of everybody else? By being you, by being authentically you, by embracing that, shedding anything that is not resonating with that truth. The limiting beliefs. There's a root that separated you from that authenticness. When I was in 3rd grade, it was that pain of not being able to do what obviously, in quotes, everybody else could do. I must be broken. I am not good enough. I am a failure. And the pain of that and I rejected myself. Even I saw it as God rejected me because he did not fix me. That root I held on into my heart, and that pain then was echoing through the decisions I made. It separated me from my internal compass. Did it separate you? Did something in your life separate you? There's a root. You may know what it is. You may not know what it is. Later on, as I did in one of my deep dives into why, I was making some self-sabotaging decisions, and I said, okay, why am I choosing to compromise what I know this isn't good for me? This job idea isn't bad, but it doesn't resonate with me. So why am I even here? I'm self-sabotaging. And so I dove down in, went into with my guides, and I said, okay, where's the root? And what I saw was I had felt I didn't deserve it. I had failed so bad. And there was so much, and guilt and shame and hate, because even God could have fixed me. At that time, that was my picture. And then what I understood was, I got a new perspective. I didn't need fixed. There was nothing broken about me. I felt broken, but my truth, what the truth is, I was fine. I just am incredibly gifted. And I see the world through a different lens, through a different energy. And when I look at the world through that, so creator energy was giving me the gift of not answering that question or that request. They're like, you're not broken. Why would we fix you? So it was in my journey work that helped me get that new perspective. And then once that root shifted, here's the power of shifting roots. Once that root shifted, the self-sabotaging behavior ended. I didn't have to chase those symptoms anymore. I got down to the why. So the power of getting down to the why, and what is not knowing where those roots are, what are they costing us? It's that self-sabotaging lack of confidence. When we're really wanting to erase these symptoms, get to the root. It's about getting down to the root. So I want to bring you to Thank you for joining me on this. And I can feel your wheels turning. The power of knowing is confidence. The power of knowing is joy, purpose, peace. The power of knowing is creating and being a part of powerful creative processes. The power of knowing is making money, abundance in every area of your life. So we talk, and a lot of people, and I get why, are talking about manifesting. But manifesting requires us being in a space. We manifest all the time, but manifesting these beautiful things that we are wanting takes us being in line with who we are. And I could totally go there, but I'm not going to rabbit trail right now. So what is not knowing costing you? Millions of dollars. You people pay a lot of money for people that are operating at 8s and 9s and 10s in their field. And the way you become a 9 and a 10 is by being and mastering who you are as an individual. People pay lots of money for that. So getting paid for who you authentically are, now that's fun. So no more, oh my gosh, I gotta go to work. Now it's like, yes, I earn this and it just comes from who I am. Love that. Love that. So it comes down to this. We will pay for knowing. We will pay for knowing who we are. We will pay, and it will feel expensive. Or we'll pay for not knowing, and it's catastrophic. It's catastrophic. So the decision is, and it boils down to, you believe it's possible, or you don't. Do you believe it's possible to connect to who you are? Connecting and learning from someone like Janell Rae, someone like me or somebody else, to get to know who you are and expand who you are, the knowledge, the gifts, removing the things that are there that are causing you to be, that are keeping you from connecting to that next level you. Do you know the whispers of your soul? And how deep do you want to go? So you either believe that it's possible or you don't. You believe that I can help you, guide you, activate this, or you don't. You believe you can learn it or you don't. And belief is not just saying, oh, I believe. Belief is in your actions. Belief is in action. Action shows you believe it. Many of you already joined. I look forward to walking with you for the next year as we explore and dive deep into who you are as an intuitive and how that is going to 100x your life. Many of you are still thinking about it, and you may decide to today. You may not. We're still friends. I look forward to meeting you in the most beautiful retreat centers around the world, joining me there. So thank you for being here. If you have questions about what does it look like to really connect to who you are and what's the process, reach out to me at janell@janellrae.com. This work with me is going to be ending the end of December. I do this is a year program, and that with those that are already joined me, like I said, I'm so glad you're here. But this is going to be the door is only open through the end of September. When those slots, so we've got 30 slots available, and when those are full, it's done. I will close that early. Once it fills up, it's filled up. So grab your space. Don't let the grass grow under your feet. Grab your space, and I will see you on the other side.
Reach out to Janell before the end of September 2024 to enroll in one of the remaining spots available.